Can we build a camera within a toothbrush? Crazy smart, right? Like they're just born smart. You do anything, you put them in any situation, they will be the smartest person in the room.
You're one of them?
I don't think I'm one of them.
Your intent was always to come to a place to convert text into movies.
It all sounds pretty simple today, but in 2019, no one would believe that was even possible. As soon as the technology started to get good, we never cloned anyone without their permission.
People being confused with deepfakes. They still do not understand the difference between hyper-real AI and deepfake.
Is that one is happening with consent and the other is happening without consent.
There was a place where it was my face and my voice. Suddenly it changes into 3 different tonalities of voices, but still my face, depending upon the kind of use case we were talking about, and then it switches into a female voice.
These videos are AI generated and these videos are real.
Right.
So that the audience can just be more careful when they're watching AI generated videos. I actually recorded, I think, like over 15-20 videos of myself, and the model would never work on me, right? Like it was horrible. Just the technology in our hands wasn't enough. But a significant number of pixels in the world in the future are going to be generated.
What are some of your predictions around generative AI, the capabilities?
Making predictions in Gen AI space is very, very hard. I think everybody is wrong about predictions.
What made Rephrase stand out as against other potential companies in this space to be acquired?
It'll be too sensitive.
This episode is brought to you by Super Checkout, the world's first AI-powered checkout that lets you split, combine, or co-pay with friends and family in real time. Whether it's shopping, gifting, or travel bookings, now everyone can chip in with ease. Check out smarter with Super Checkout. The Hustle Group Company. Let me introduce you to the Hustle Group Company. It's a lifestyle brand that's redefining streetwear through the power of fashion, self-belief, and resilience. The second one being Discover Dollar, which is an AI-driven tech company that helps brands and retailers recover hidden dollars from overpayments and leakages. DocsNow's intelligent platform empowers businesses of all sizes to rapidly collect, manage, govern, and collaborate on the data front, transforming your documents and making sure there's an impact on the business bottom line, all in a secure and a single environment.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Innovators and Disruptors Podcast. I'm your host Abhay Tandon, and today I have a dear friend Ashray Malhotra who's here joining us for this exciting conversation that we're going to have around Rephrase, hyper-real AI, and more importantly and most importantly, Ashray's journey into building something so disruptive that the world was taken by a storm, and specifically a lot of work that we have seen in India and outside as well now that's happening in this space. He's going to give us or shed some light on some of these very interesting conversations. Welcome aboard and on the episode, Ashray. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very excited for this.
Thank you so much. Ashray, I was just researching about you. Like when we started speaking back in 2020, you spoke to me about a certain vision that you had about Rephrase. This is before Rephrase became fully mainstream, right? You were doing some early experiments back in the day. And but when I was looking into your background, I realized that you are from a place called as Narora. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your journey been like? Before I get into any stuff around Rephrase, I want to talk to you about what's your journey been like. Coming from a place like Narora to IIT Bombay, I've seen you. You've been Forbes 30 under 30. You've been at MIT Media Lab. So what's that journey been like? What got you hooked to the vision of Rephrase eventually? But before that, what key milestones happened in your journey?
Sure. As rightly mentioned, I grew up in a place called as Narora. It's a small village / town close to Delhi, like say 4.5-5 hours away from Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
Both my parents are nuclear engineers. So Narora has a nuclear power plant where both my parents used to work. It was a fairly small community of say a couple of thousand people at max there. I had a lot of fun growing up. I was not the most studious person, I would say. My parents used to make sure that like I have my basics right, but like I was never in the top 3 even in that, even in my class of like 50, even in that place. Then when I was in around 9th or 10th class, my parents had, all thanks to them, they took a big sacrifice. They resigned from the job. They then one of my parents got transferred to Bombay. And that's how I moved to Bombay.
Okay.
My parents didn't want to send me to Kota for education. So they want to make sure that I'm at least in a more competitive place within close to house. Bombay was a big culture shift for me. going from a very, very protected, like, very small community to like now this place where you almost have to, like, people are more like out there, people are more modern, right? Like,
And
all
there are a
that.
lot of people.
Yeah.
Just a lot more people on the streets.
Exactly. So it was a big culture shift for me. But I don't think without that shift, I would have been where I wouldn't have never even entered IT Bombay for context. I did work really, really hard in 10th, 11th, 12th. I would say like those are the 3 years that I spent a large amount of time. My parents did a lot of sacrifice for me to be able to get to IIT Bombay. And I wouldn't even say it was really my vision. Like, wasn't particularly passionate about anything. But when you have engineering parents and you don't particularly have a strong direction, like the direction gets imposed on you, which is go to IIT, right, get a degree, then go to IIM, then get an MBA, and then get a job, right? Like that's a quintessential Indian path. So I started off on that direction, went to IIT Bombay, right? Used to run the film club in the second year. Got very passionate about the world of like films and images and pixels. Like the fact that a bunch of numbers on screen can manipulate real human emotions is something that I got very fascinated about.
Fantastic.
Then in the third year, like again on that eventual MBA path, went to one of the largest investment banks in the world. I absolutely hated it. And after that, I decided I should do more tech in life rather than going the MBA direction. In third or fourth years, like winters, there was a 2-week program where Professor Ramesh Raskar from Camera Culture Labs, which is a part of MIT Media Labs, they came down. There was like somewhere between a full-blown project and a hackathon, where they put a small bunch of people. So in our team, there was like one dentist, say 2 or 3 computer vision engineers, one business grad. So they put together a cross-cultural team. And they gave us a goal of can we build a camera within a toothbrush where you can get a report of are there any parts of your mouth where you should be focusing more on or less on. Basically, it's to avoid cavities rather than treating them.
Again, computer vision?
It was, it's driven by computer vision. So the signals that are coming out of the camera, you've got to run some algorithms on them. And of course, after a week, that thing did not work reliably on all possible edge cases. But it did work in at least an artificially created setup. That was a huge mental change for me. Because before that, my belief was that you needed teams of hundreds of people, you needed millions of dollars to be able to build out any product.
Right.
But for the first time, I saw that a team of, say, 5 to 10 people across disciplines in a fairly small duration, we can ship out something that looks like a prototype or a product.
Right.
So that was a huge mental shift for me, which then, that continued into a full 2 to 3 month summer internship that I did remotely, like it was a RedX program that was based out of India, that Camera Culture Group from MIT used to run. So in the summers, I was doing 3 full-time jobs at the same time. Practically, I was doing Google Summer of Code, I was doing my master's degree, and I was doing like this RedX program at the same time. So I got used to working really, really hard just because you have to parallelize 3 things at the same time. In the final year of college, 2 out of these 3 things, of course, like eventually, like my Google Summer of Code was done, my MIT Media Lab internship wrapped up, and then I had too much time, right? Like when you get used to working those hours, like I had so much energy and so much time left. So before I passed out of college, I wanted to build something that's just extremely memorable, like basically do something really cool before I passed out of college. That cool thing turned into my first startup eventually, and then like that first startup turned into the second startup, and I think that's how the journey happened.
Wow, that's very inspiring. Very interesting question. You said that you did not want to go to Kota?
My parents did not want to send me to Kota. I don't think I had the cognitive ability to process whether I want to go to Kota or not. I had no idea what it was when I was in 6th or 7th.
So for the audience, this is one thing that there's a takeaway over here, which is you don't need to be in Kota, because I think a lot of youngsters would have a lot of pressure to go to Kota to prepare for cracking IITs. Right? And you don't need to necessarily be in Kota only to prepare for a good engineering school.
That's true. My takeaway from spending a bunch of time with people is that most people in IITs, in my opinion, fall into two categories. First category is people who are like just crazy smart, right? Like they're just born smart. You do anything, you put them in any situation, they will be the smartest person in the room.
You're one of them?
I don't think I'm one of them, right? But like there is a category of those people, and like they exist. I think the second category of people are people who've had to work really hard to be able to get to that point. And I think when at least I was younger, right, like working hard can either be imposed on you by some other, like, someone else. So your parents could like force you to do it, your teachers could force you to do it, right? You could be put in an atmosphere like quota where that's happening. Or the second kind of place is where you yourself feel bad, right? Like even as a kid, you have a little bit of self-respect,
Right.
and you don't want to come, like say, be 15,000th in the country, like you feel bad about it yourself.
Right.
So what was really helpful, and I think is important, is to be put in a group of people where you have a lot of competition, so that you have self motivation to work harder and self motivation to like improve your ranks, improve your marks, and just
Right.
like generally get better at whatever you're doing. So Mumbai gave me that opportunity to like have peers who were smarter than me, and that makes you like naturally
harder.
want to get inspired. So I think that is very important.
Makes a lot of
but
sense.
Now, quota is one way of getting there, which is that you see a lot of people who are smarter than you. But I think if you can replicate that situation where, again, just don't be the smartest person in the room, make sure there are other people better, so that you are inspired to catch up to them.
Right. I mean, I used to always get this statement by my dad, right? Back in the day, much younger. When I used to come maybe in the top 5 in the class or something like that, and he used to tell me it's like kuए ka mendak. Right? You think that, you are very sharp, but then when you're out there in the real world, in a real competitive environment, that's when you really understand what it takes to really crack something, right? To really build on something. And that's where you'll strive a lot harder. And I realized this in my story. I realized that when I was put at SP Gen, cracking CAT was comparatively much easier, one of those competitive exams. But once I was inside SP Gen is when I realized that, everyone out there was probably sharper than I was. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting, because I was not used to be in a setting where the competition was so high. And then I was like, okay, now I have to pull up my socks, because if I have to compete in this environment, you have to be, learning from each other. But at the same time, there's also that extra energy where you strive to get beyond a particular point, right? So the escape velocity, so to say, right? To go to the next level. Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've also been a big fan of MIT Media Lab and the work that they do, right? In the past, some of the research that we have done around nanotech also has been inspired by some of the stuff that we've already seen that has happened at MIT. Even at Target, we had partnered with MIT Media Lab. So I know the people who've come out of that, normally, I mean, you said that, it was in India, but I've seen that even in India, the people who are selected are normally quite sharp. That's the point that you were trying to make, that, there were only 5 or 7 people in each group, but such diverse cross-cultural teams that were made, that each of them was carrying not just they're not bearing their weights on their shoulder, but together as a team, those 5 people turn out to be a 50 people strong team.
Yeah, that's true. I've realized working in large teams now, 50 people adds a lot of bureaucracy and process of just people management. So I don't think, like, my naive version, say 10 years back, used to think that 50 people would get 10x the work done of 5 people. Like, that is just so not true.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. When I was leading Lowe's innovation labs in India, we formed a small team of 8 to 9 people. Each of us knew exactly what we were doing, what we wanted out of each other. We created a term or a role called as creative technologist, because we wanted 1 or 2 people to not be bogged down by presentations, not be bogged down by a lot of administrative project management or product management work as well. Their jobs was just to do creative experiments. They were technologists who were also very creative in their headspaces. So we got those people to come up with radical ideas that we could do disruptive work on. Right. In fact, in one of those conversations that I came across Rephrase, and this was, I probably saw what Rephrase is capable of at Samsung's Opera House in Bangalore. And you were at the demo day of Techstars, and I suddenly see on the stage you're talking, and there's this Barack Obama audio clip that's playing out, right? And I'm like, wow, what's going on, right? And then that's when I think me or someone from the team reached out to you saying that, let's connect, and there should probably be a lot of things. So what was that journey like? Earlier conversation, very, very fascinated by movies, very fascinated by the fact that certain things which are denoted, I mean, movies are nothing but numbers, data that is coming up on screen, different visual representations of that, and that's manipulating human emotions, right? And one of our first conversations, you mentioned this to me, that your intent was always to come to a place, or the long-term vision, North Star, if I can take the liberty of saying so, to convert text into movies. You write any text and that should automatically convert into movies. What was the journey like from, figuring out what you want to do to eventually getting to this place where Barack Obama's voice was cloned?
It was a lot of fun. So Nishit, who was my co-founder, along with Shivam, at Rephrase, so it was Nishit's idea that he wanted to build, even in college, a machine that takes text as input and creates a video as output. Because back in 2019, computers did not have the vision ability. So you add all the challenges of natural language processing to be able to truly understand what the text is, and then replicate that with all of the hardest challenges in computer vision of being able to make the machine say that. It all sounds pretty simple today, but in 2019, no one would believe that was even possible.
Right.
So Nishit had that idea, and then when he was discussing it with me, that resonated very deeply with me because I used to run film club, and I used to make short films, and I made them for a couple of years. But after that, I got fed up given how complicated the video creation process is. It takes weeks, months to create even 3 to 4 minute short films. You're thinking about it all the time. You are at a set, right? A bell will ring, a crow will come down, right?
Right.
Something goes wrong all the time in shoots, and hence I was convinced that this is something that there has to be an easier way of doing it. I eventually ended up going to photography because that was just a lot simpler to do that than video creation. So the idea that video creation should be easier,
Right.
And if you look at it from an engineering first principles mindset, and then Nishit came to me with this vision, and I think that resonated very deeply with me. So that was the starting point of Rephrase.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we were convinced that within the team, we had the skill sets to go at this problem, and that this was a new space that was coming up. So with any other space, we thought that we might have we were still fresh out of college grads with 2-3 years experience. So we thought in any other space, we might be missing a lot of experience that other people might have. But in this space, it was it was fair game.
Right.
We are in the same place that everybody else was. Also, we were seeing some offshoots in research. Say there was a paper by University of Washington called as Synthesizing Obama, and some other research that was starting to come out. So yeah, I think it was some early saplings that were coming out. We just put all of them together and decided that okay, this is the time. Let's make it happen. Text to video is going to happen, and we thought we could be one of the teams that'll make it happen. So that's how we started. We took Obama in the early days as the research because the earliest models needed a lot of training data to be able to train, and Obama used to give a presidential speech every week, which was put in public domain by the White House. So, and he gave that I think for 4 to 5 years. Okay. So he basically had a few minutes of his video every week for a very long time. So that added up to I think I may be getting the number wrong, but over 20 hours of data, which is what the earliest models needed to be able to create a model that can synthesize face and voice of a person.
Right.
So that's why we started with Obama as an example, because lots of data, public domain.
Amazing. Did you ever get into any kind of trouble because of the Obama video?
I don't show that video as often now, given the increased sensitivity of deepfakes and how easy it has become.
Right.
But no, I don't think we got into serious trouble because of that.
No.
Because Rephrase followed fairly strong ethical guidelines. Outside of these few fancy demos, and even in the demo, we never tried to make it feel as if Obama really said something that he didn't want to. We made Obama become Alexa.
Right,
Like
exactly.
it was supposed to be a cool demo. We never wanted to spread misinformation. And outside of a few demos like that, which we did in our very, very early days of our journey, we almost like, as soon as the technology started to get good, we never cloned anyone without their permission. I think we followed very strong ethical guidelines. None of our campaigns went wrong, and I know many of our competitors have had that. So it was like following the strong ethical guidelines was important to us.
Makes sense.
We wanted to build the technology for good.
No, thank you so much, Ashray. That's fantastic, right? Two very interesting points that you spoke about. Two very interesting points that you spoke about, right? One of them being the importance of following ethical practices. Second was people being confused with deepfakes. Now, because I've closely worked with you over the years and I've followed your journey as well, I understand what hyperreal AI is, what deepfake is. But I'm sure a lot of people in the audience, or actually outside in the world, when I still talk to people about hyperreal AI, even the ChatGPT, all the rappers like Perplexity are out there, people talk about them, they understand what generative AI is all about, they still do not understand the difference between hyperreal AI and deepfake, right? Would you want to share a little bit of a perspective so that people in the audience who are watching you understand what's the key difference, or what are some obvious differences between hyperreal AI and deepfake?
Yeah, I think the largest difference that I think between both of them is that one is happening with consent and the other is happening without consent. So there are lots of cases where people want to create video content of themselves without having to actually go out to shoot. Lots of use cases.
Right.
It scales up people's time because now they could be somewhere else and a video is getting auto-generated. In the case of the Shah Rukh Khan campaign, we created, or like many other celebrity campaigns, we used to create hundreds of thousands of minutes of content, and the person just does not have that much time.
Right.
So in the Shah Rukh Khan campaign, just taking that one example, we created more minutes of video content of him than his entire film life put together, right?
Really?
In 1 month. Yes.
Okay, I mean, in terms of creation.
Yeah, in terms of
not
creation.
for the trading data.
No, yeah, only in terms of creation.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are able to create more minutes of video content in 1 month than he's done in his, say, 30, 40 years of film life
Wow.
is only possible with AI.
Right.
So that's to say that there are lots of use cases where you want to create AI generate video content of a particular person for good reasons, for ethical reasons, right?
Right.
All of that happens with their permission. Coming to the other side, it's deepfakes. Deepfake's origin was like swapping out faces of like face swap, actually, not even generating the entire video. The origin of deepfakes was face swap. And it was face swap in porn videos, like swapping out people's faces.
Right.
For obvious reasons, that thing has a bad reputation, right? And
Right.
it should. I don't think AI generating people's videos without their permission is right. More so, I think using those videos and not letting the audiences know that these videos are AI generated is worse.
Right.
I really wish that the world figures out a mechanism to say that, these videos are AI generated and these videos are real.
Right.
So that the audience can just be more careful when they're watching AI generated videos.
Makes a lot of sense.
If that happens, I still believe there will be a lot of use cases of AI generated video, because a lot of times you just don't want to read text or listen to audio. You want to see a video. Even if that's AI generated, it just feels more interactive, more than just reading text.
Yeah.
So I think there are lots of use cases. It just needs to happen with consent and permission and being transparent with your audience that these are AI generated.
Makes a lot of sense, right? So when Ashray speaks about face swapping, he's talking about superimposition of someone's face on someone else's body, right? And that, like he mentioned, the prime use case has been porn, and thus the reputation because of the stigma around that, right? But more importantly, it is permissionless, which means that this can be used for bad reasons, as deepfake, and something that most people, a lot of celebs have also gone through that in the last few years, right? So clarifying again that hyperreal AI is different. You're training the whole model on certain amount of training data, then you can generate script which can allow that model to speak out things with permission of the actor in question, right? So that's very, very critical that people understand that difference.
Yeah.
And that is why it's very ethical also, as against permissionless. I remember, Ashray, 2020 mid, just after the onset of the pandemic, we engaged. I was working at Lowe's Innovation Labs, and we engaged to do a proof of concept or a pilot, right? And one of the first lab rabbits in that experiment was me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, no matter how difficult it seemed at that point of time. Prima facie, because I remember, I'd called you up and I told you that, I can't have people coming into my house. We are one of those people who are very, very skeptical about contact at this point of time. So can you let me know if you can set up stuff at my house only instead of coming to a studio environment? And you said, sure, we can get the bags, shipped to you, and then you can, we can give you instructions over a call and you can set it up. And I said, okay, fair, that's cool. The funny thing is, the bell rang, and the guys kept bringing the bags after bags. And I'm like, how many bags are there? And then I realized there were almost 10 bags. And it took me almost 3 to 4 hours to set it up. Now, again, coming from a non-movie background, not non-production background, even a simple thing, I don't even know what was the term being used, but it was a horizontal versus vertical for the green screen to be put up, right, in a particular format. And I was like, I'm not sure what you're talking to me about. So there were video calls, there were a lot of audio calls, and then I was trying to figure out the light settings, camera and all that. And I think for that shoot, there was no teleprompter, of course. And because it was an early model, you had asked me to keep speaking for 30 minutes or so without a teleprompter, where I was the cameraman, I was the crew, I was the producer, I was the director, I was the actor. It was really fun. But that was not the sacrifice, right? The sacrifice for me at that point of time was, since the algo was fairly new, you had asked me for a big sacrifice. I'm not sure if you remember.
Thank you for going through all of this. None of that sounds easy.
Yeah. No, none of that was easy, but the biggest sacrifice was that I had to shave my beard off. And the reason it was a big sacrifice was because I look like an egg without a beard. So for a few days, I had to bear that look. So I had to take off my beard, I had to take off my glasses, and then I had to keep speaking. Now, it becomes difficult for algorithms to understand what the lip movements are like, at least back in the day, because of heavy beard and mustaches, right? And eye movements with the glasses on. So that is why my assumption was that, these were, I was made to do that. I hope so.
Yeah.
Unless there was a hidden agenda.
No, there was no hidden agenda. That was just an unfortunate moment in time when the algorithms needed all of that support. As I mentioned, like in the earliest days, we used to train on like many hours of footage of Obama. We then brought it down to something closer to 30 minutes that we saw. But again, we're talking about 2020. So we needed two things. First was, again, you needed to have like points on your lips, etc. And like the landmark detector would fail if you had too many like beards and stuff and glasses. So like that was one problem.
Right.
The second major problem was that again, we used to generate like this area. We would not generate the whole thing. So we would generate this area and then merge it with the original video. And the generated part was not as high resolution as the original video was, because we were not able to generate at such high res. So there was a little bit of smoothing, and the smoothing does not feel as bad if if it's just skin, because but if you have beard, which has fairly high frequency details in this, then the smoothing feels really bad. So those are some of the reasons why we needed to do all of that. But yeah, I think all thanks to you and like all the support that we got in the early days. It was like we had to build up one case study at a time, right? Like it started off with like people in the team. Like I actually recorded, I think, like over 15-20 videos of myself, and the model would never work on me, right? Like it was horrible. So it started with people in the team, and then it started with like very early adopters like you, and like we had to build up our library of content of people that we have cloned to be able to then go on and convince like the talent management companies to trust us initially with the Rithik campaign, and then it all grew from there. So those are all like very, very, very helpful steps on the journey. So thank you for going through that.
No, my pleasure. Like I said, right, I've been very inspired by this whole exercise, right, that we did. In fact, I remember that brainstorming conversation that both of us had about presenting this to senior execs at Lowe's, and we were talking about how do we give them a presentation that really markets the technology so damn well that they're like in awe of what is being done. So we had a lot of, played around with the video content, right? So if you remember, and I'll probably, add this for the audience to see shortly in the video. Uh, there was a place where it was my face and my voice. Suddenly it changes into three different tonalities of voices, but still my face, depending upon the kind of use case we were talking about. And then it switches into a female voice.
Hi, I'm your virtual Abhay, synthetically created. Till now, creating professional quality videos has been a huge high production effort. But now you can just write the script and get a video within 5 minutes. Isn't this awesome?
It's also super easy to change my voice, so I can have a casual voice with some customer.
Or change my tone when speaking with other customers. And remember, this involves no voice casting, auditions, recording, nothing.
And yes, I can also switch into a female voice, by the way.
Mind blown, right? But this is just the start. There are a variety of faces to choose from and mix and match them with different voices each time. Say if you are shopping on the Lowe's Windows section, I can show you around. And when it comes to plumbing, I can tailor my avatar to make you comfortable and confident in a buying decision. And this is just the start. Good to be back, completely with my face and my voice. Let's step up together in the future of video creation.
And I remember some of these leaders laughing, really laughing it out, because they did not anticipate or expect, as it is, the egg face was funny for them, because I was sitting right next to them with a beard and they were like, oh, this guy's looking so funny, that's you? And I'm like, yeah, that's me, and I'm beardless. And they're like, oh my God, you look like this without a beard. So they were being nice to me without explicitly calling it out. But yeah, and then the next thing is that they hear me with a female voice and they're like, wow, that's some possibilities that exist, right? The crazy number of possibilities. And I informed them that while we are just talking about this, we are talking about different languages, we're talking about different background settings, we're talking about different musical scores, we're talking about endless number of scripts. And initially the pitch was about email marketing campaigns. But then when it went on to influencer marketing, it changed the direction. Like you mentioned, Hrithik Roshan was one of the first ones, celebs that you worked with for, again, if I'm not wrong, a Cadbury ad.
Yeah.
Raksha Bandhan.
Yeah, Raksha Bandhan. That's
And it was
right.
smooth. It was damn smooth, Ashray. I remember sending it to my cousins. And they were like, do you really know Hrithik? I'm like, yeah, of course. It was damn smooth, right? So it kind of worked. That was a way of testing it in a unbiased audience. And then Shah Rukh Khan's campaign, not just a Cadbury ad, for Diwali, changed everything. I think that was a big moment. Could you talk to us a little bit about what went into that campaign? Because if I'm not wrong, you got 1.5 lakh retailers got Shah Rukh Khan as their brand ambassador. People who can't think about affording Shah Rukh Khan as a brand ambassador certainly had an option to have Shah Rukh Khan as a brand ambassador selling different kinds of products for a Diwali ad for Cadbury. Something that you would like to share about what really transpired, how did that scale happen?
That ad was also a transformative moment for us as a company. So it was an important moment. I think it all started off with the Hrithik campaign that we talked about earlier. Cadbury used the Hrithik campaign as a testing bed for whether any of this stuff even works or not. And it worked really well. So they were very happy with the results. Diwali is the main event for them. And Ogilvy, which was a creative agency that Mondelez had at that time, I'm not sure who's it today, came up with the idea that in Diwali, their goal was to reach out to tier 2, tier 3 retailers. And they came up with this idea of let's create a personalized Shah Rukh video. And they could now take a bet on us because they had done a mock test earlier. So it was Ogilvy's idea. And with Wavemaker, who's a media agency and stuff, like Mondelez, Ogilvy, Wavemaker, us, right? And another tech partner. So we all work together to first even do the feasibility test of this, whether this was possible or not.
Right.
It was a very big moonshot at that time, given Mondelez said that we wanted to look like a normal ad. Basically, like, so even the kind of stuff that you had done, it was a person standing, looking at the camera and, giving a 15-30 minute long speech. They said, we don't want that. We want it to look like a natural ad. So they wanted to push the boundaries of technology more than it ever had been pushed before.
Makes sense.
So as a result of that, they said that we have 5 different categories. I think one was shoes, right? Eyewear, groceries, and I think a couple of others.
Right.
And they said, we need 5 different, he needs to be able to do personalization at 5 different times.
Right.
The model at that time was extremely sensitive to, lighting changes and even costume changes, because you would capture something. Yes, the model was extremely sensitive at that time. Now, of course, eventually the technology got better.
Yeah.
So we initially pushed back. We're that's too ambitious. Let's just do one avatar, one place. But they were insistent, you tell us what you need, even if that sounds irrational, and we'll figure out a way to do it, but it needs to look real.
Makes sense.
So we ended up creating 5 different avatars of Shah Rukh in 5 different parts of the studio, and different lighting, different clothes, all of that. So Shah Rukh Khan actually had to speak gibberish. Training content was 75 minutes because we needed 15 minutes for each training. I think it was extremely patient to go through that. It was very hard to speak random stuff for that long. But he went through it. That campaign had a bumpy ride on the way to getting signed off. There was some lots of challenges, even in say Shah Rukh's personal life and the sensitivities around the situation at that time. So we weren't even sure whether it would go live. And I think after it went live, it changed the game for, again, both us as a company, even for the Indian advertising scene. I think India won its first ever Cannes, major Cannes awards which are the equivalent of Oscars in advertising.
Titanium Lion.
Yeah, we won Titanium Lion. But more importantly for me, we got emails and messages from people who said that, for the first time they believed in technology, because lots of these people, all they wanted to do was, stand out of Shah Rukh's house and get to see him once and in their life, and that was their goal that they've planned for many, many years.
Right.
But now the fact that you could be in any part of the country and you could create a Shah Rukh Khan ad for your own brand.
Right, yeah. That's beautiful.
Was game changing for all these guys. So while we were thinking all this while purely from a technology perspective, the impact that it had on people and how people perceived it was very touching for us.
I'm sure.
And I think that motivated the entire team to do a lot more. That motivated us to push forward in our journey. But again, all thanks to Ogilvy for coming up with the idea, and then Wavemaker for the media distribution, Mondelez for trusting us. I till date have a very, very high respect for Cadbury's and Mondelez. I think they were one of the rare people who took the leap, took the bet, because it's very hard to trust a new technology, a relatively new company,
right,
for what is going to be the most important time in the entire year for your sales.
Yep.
But they did trust us, and I'm sure their revenue growth was one of the fastest in 4 or 5 years as well. So I think everybody won that campaign.
Yep.
We really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, Ashray, when you talk about this, right? Because this is the exact thing that I wanted to get you for this episode for, because I wanted to talk about this impact. There's been a big journey behind Nishit, Shivam, and you coming together, right? There's been a journey about your upbringing, coming together as founders and trying to solve for problems, right? And then there was this dream team that came up. You have Mondelez and Cadbury, partnering with Ogilvy, Wavemaker, and Rephrase, pushing technology to the best possible limit to come up with this. And that's when disruption happens. That's when a new space is carved out. Now masses are aware about the possibilities that exist. 2, it solves for, it brings happiness and impact in the lives of those 1.5 lakh retailers or brands who are now able to say, with Shah Rukh Khan saying this out, अगर आपको जूते खरीदने हैं ये तो Mehta footwear from MG Road hypothetically, as an example, and people were able to say that ये देखो Shah Rukh Khan मेरे brand के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. That was so beautiful, right? And you got so many emails. That's a testimony to the impact that you've created, and the fact that India got its first titanium lion at Cannes. It shook the whole advertising space, because in all these decades of India trying to participate and win that award, India had not. And for the first time, technology was embedded right in the center of something so creative, right? Because people would write off technology saying that, creativity is different, technology is different. And then you showed that, it can coexist, and not just coexist, it can win together. So it was such a beautiful story. Thank you so much, Ashray, for sharing that.
Thank you. And yeah, creativity and technology go really, really well together.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, like just the technology in our hands wasn't enough. We needed amazing creatives to come up with amazing ideas on like the impact that could have. So multidisciplinary teams coming together for a common goal works really well.
True, very true. And today you see these technologies being deployed everywhere. I've seen celebs across cricket, sports, athletes, movies, etc., using this technology today, right, in different form factors. And it's fantastic to see that, in 4 years, we're just talking about 3 to 4 years, how much has it evolved in terms of adoption? And of course, it has had its own challenges across the journey as well, along the journey as well. I'm sure you've gone through some of them. One of them that I didn't want to talk about was fundraising. I'm sure this was not an easy space to sell your story and narrative to investors, because this was not a very proven space. So how were you able to go through that journey? I think you raised about 10.6 mil Series A. One of the people that I respect as an investor a lot is Hmon Lightspeed, ex-A16Z, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
He was also on board, Red Ventures and a bunch of others, right? Can you talk to us a little bit about your journey about fundraising and how this narrative was sold to investors? What made them believe in you?
That's a great question. So Hemant led our seed round. Red Ventures, Silver Lake, 8VC, and a bunch of others invested in our Series A round. In the Techstars demo day, we originally went off as just, to show off what we'd built with no goals to fundraise. Given I was coming off from a failed startup where we basically died because we could not raise money. So this time, we'd gotten, I think, a little over 100K. In India, that was a lot of money for the three of us to survive. So we're like, we will not fundraise, we'll just stay lean, we'll build it out.
Right.
But Hemant, again, all thanks to his visionary abilities, he was able to predict that this technology will evolve into something a lot more. And after talking to the team and his vision of where the space will go, he decided to write one of his first checks after moving to India into us. So I have to commend Hemant. Back in 2019, it was a very, very hard bet to take. So I think that a lot of the fact that the round happened, credit goes to him.
Ashray, can I just interject on this and ask you this follow-on question about Hemant, right? Since you've worked very closely with him, you've worked with a lot of investors, you've spoken to a lot of them, I'm sure. Do you foresee that because Hemant moved from US to India, that his risk-taking appetite on emerging technologies and unproven spaces was a lot higher than a bunch of Indian investors who normally would like to see that has this technology been proven somewhere else, and then they decide to invest into that?
I don't have a large enough sample size to be able to generalize the fact that, say, people coming from US to India are more risk-taking or not. So I can't make a comment on that. But Hemant in particular, sure. He has gone on to write amazing checks, into Pixel and many other deep tech companies. He's done really, really well. So, Hemant in particular has taken a lot of bets, and I have very high respect for him. Whether that statement generalizes to all people from US to India coming, I'm not sure.
Okay, fair. So you continue.
Yeah. So then our Series A round happened because of a few different reasons. First, I think the success from the Shah Rukh Khan campaign showed that this technology could go mainstream, because before that, it was all very niche. Secondly, we found a very fortunate partner in Red Ventures, where they were pivoting away from just pure play text-based publishing to wanting to scale up the video content. And there were lots of synergies between what they wanted to do and what our technology could enable. So that's what prompted the entire thing. And we looked at them as very important strategic partners on the way to US go-to-market. Because I was convinced that we would have to pivot our business away from just being India focused to having to focus significantly on US as well to be able to get to our Series B, C, and follow on rounds to be able to get to that revenue scale and growth. So we wanted very strong partners in the US, which is why I think Red Ventures and 8VC and Silver Lake were all amazing partners.
That's fantastic, right? And since you spoke about mainstream, going, I mean, hyper AI or this technology at large going mainstream, I've noticed today that you can just navigate that arena so quickly. Like for example, your Apple can be changed, your looks can be changed very, very quickly, right? So you can be placed into any place, any environment very, very quickly. That's the personalization depth that we're talking about today, right? I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But like, your apparel looks pretty nice. What are you wearing?
Thank you. This is a Champions T-shirt. We're going through the Champions Trophy, and one of the brands that I support is called the Hustle Groove Company. They're into pop culture and athleisure. So support the Indian team. I support the Indian team too, and basically it says that they want to make people feel like champions. So yeah, but thanks so much for noticing that. These are the years that we have won the international trophies, World Cups, India at large. So champions.
Nice.
Thank you.
Getting back to your original question, I believe I should say most, but a significant number of pixels in the world in the future are going to be generated.
Right.
And not actually recorded. A big part of that is being able to get all sorts of customization abilities and like sophisticated controls on a piece of software. In case of real people, that does mean that you have to have almost infinite configurable options of lighting, clothing, like in the future being able to AI generate characters of any description that you would want. All of that's going to happen, and I'm almost frustrated that it's taken us so long to get there, but I think it'll now happen sooner than people expect.
Yeah, with the LLMs growing so fast. So this is also another aspect that I wanted to get into. What are some of your predictions around generative AI, the capabilities in the next, let's say, 2 or 3 years? And I know 2-3 years now seems to be a very far off time. Let's say, next 1 year, where do you see generative AI going?
Making predictions in Gen AI space is very, very hard.
Right.
I think everybody is wrong about predictions. Think about how this space really works, right? You put together a lot of compute, a lot of training data into a model. You then train the model, and then you see what comes out of it.
Right.
Which is very different than how, say, development in the pre-Gen AI world would look like, where you would start off with a problem statement and then put a special dedicated tiny model or algorithmic solution to the particular problem that you start to solve. Because these models are so general, honestly, no one knows what their capabilities will be. Right. So even when, say, Sam Altman is training his next models, he can't tell you what exactly that model will do. He can tell you what he's trying. But very often, he'll build that next model, and then they'll play around with it, and then they'll learn all of the abilities where it excels and where it doesn't. Of course, you can try to steer the models a little bit to hey, do better at coding, do better at maths and stuff like that, and do more reasoning tokens and a little bit of that. But honestly, no one has any idea of how the Gen AI world is going to shape up.
Makes sense.
Is there a wall? Is there not a wall? God knows, right? We did almost hit a wall in terms of how much compute can we put on training, say GPT-3, GPT-4 kind of models. But that was the fact that you have to put exponential number of compute to get linear improvement in performance means at some point you have to stop, right? Elon is now able to put an order of magnitude more than other folks. But can you really scale up an order of magnitude even more than that? Right? Can you continue to put 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion on that? Because the problem is not just training, it's also inference. Inference also becomes much more expensive. So then you need applications which need that expensive use case. So all of that's to say, predictions in the Gen AI world are hard. The good thing though is that, first let me be clear, I don't see those innovations stopping anytime soon. Secondly, in a absolute hypothetical world, if they were to stop today, you still have so much to be built on the application layer,
Right.
for which you can literally just leverage all the capability of the models that have been developed till date.
Right.
Like, we still don't have amazing email assistants. We still don't have amazing like chat support. Like, there is so much yet to be done in terms of automating programming, right? Like programs like Devin, etc., making some headway there, but still a lot to be done. So
Right.
I still don't think we've even the way most people write their eval frameworks and prompts and stuff can become a lot more scientific and become much better than where we are today. So we are with all of, and I think this is a rare moment in history that way, because typically you get very minor increments in technology, and then everybody in the application layer just latches on to those moments to make sure that the application layer and technology that's available is almost on par, right? And that's it is a rare moment in history where your technology is so far ahead of the application layer that there is so much that we need to do here to catch up.
Makes sense.
And hence I don't get to, if I was building in the space today, I would not fret too much about, well, hey, how much are we going to go from here?
Makes sense.
The third point, though, is I think there are many different layers of Gen AI. LLMs, what we've been talking about, is a big part of it.
Yeah.
But there's also image generation models, video generation models. You'll have 3D generation models,
Makes sense.
the World Labs and stuff coming out soon. I believe that the Chat GPT moment for the image, video, and 3D models is still to happen. You could make a claim that an image, it is kind of happened, but no one's making billions of dollars in revenue on image models the way people are making on LLMs today. So I believe there will be a lot more growth on image and video. And just maybe given my personal interest in the video space, I am really looking forward to some of those moments, because these increments will allow us to get to the world of building creating videos where pixels are AI generated.
Makes a lot of sense. And I hope in the near future you are able to contribute to some of those research as well, which gets us to that phase. You've done a bunch of very interesting shoots, right, with some very famous celebrities out in the country. And what was your experience been like? You mentioned that Shah Rukh Khan was very patient. He did that training data, speaking gibberish for I think 75 minutes or 90 minutes. You mentioned. Were there any interesting moments that you saw with some of these celebs? Were there faux pas moments or some issues, challenges that you faced at that point of time? Because there was also a phase in 23-4 that I remember. A lot of celebs were now being very skeptical because of deepfakes coming in. So during those early phases and your journey, did you see any interesting moments or funny moments?
I'm going to skip particular names and give you examples in abstract. There were one or two celebs in the country who who absolutely denied using this technology purely because they wanted to not be that accessible to their audience.
Right.
Which we had actually expected to happen at a much, much larger scale. But we realized that most celebs wanted to really communicate with their audiences at a one-on-one in a personal way and be more accessible. But there were a couple of those folks who didn't. So I think that was one. Another major thing that happened with another big celebrity is almost all videos that we see from that person have significant corrections to their face and hairline and stuff like that.
Okay.
Understandably, because they've been in the industry for too long. And the way they typically do it is they're VFX houses dedicated to particular actors, where they would correct every single frame of that particular video.
Oh, wow.
The problem that we had is that our inference data would be the same as our training data. So we said, if you want us to do that, you'll have to correct 90 minutes, right? 75 minutes in our case, which was extremely expensive and very time taking, and we had no time to do that. So if you closely look at some of our ads, you'll see a switch from VFX to non-VFX to back to VFX again. Another thing that we realized was something that we had not planned for before, is that our algorithm used to work on real world video shoots. But we realized that when you significantly do like VFX to the face, it loses some of the harshness or like the real world artifacts, which originally caused our algorithms to fail.
Interesting.
Which we had not, because we never did like such significant modifications of the face before. We had never planned for that. But and this had happened in a case where like we had promised to the customer that it'll work because our technology had worked so many times before. We do the shoot. Now we are on timeline to deliver. And now we realize that like our algorithms are failing just because of that reason. So first it took us took our AI team, and kudos to all of those guys. They worked really, really hard to first identify the problem and then ship a complete modification of pipeline to be able to fix that problem. But yeah, lots of learnings during our journey.
Didn't you go to some of these people, or did the agencies not go to and tell them, or probably it's too difficult to tell that to a celebrity, saying that jaise ho waise dikhoge? I mean, this is what it is, man. I understand it's not possible, and I, by the way, have encountered a couple of those celebrities too, big names, who would just say no to a shoot because we wanted to do it with one of them too, and they were like, no, anything where there's a one-on-one messaging with my face going to a huge community. I'm ready to do an ad that can be screened anywhere. You can use those collaterals and stuff, but not one-on-one personalized messages on WhatsApp to hundreds of thousands of people. That I have experienced too. So interesting. I don't understand what's the apprehension. I think that makes it it creates such a strong impact, right? Imagine getting a message from Mahendra Singh Dhoni saying that Abhay jaisi aap RTR black color ki bike dekh rahe the, it was fantastic, right? So on and so forth, some examples like that. That was so cool. You know, when you receive that, you feel so good about it, and you're more attached to that brand ambassador as well as the brand, right? So the loyalty increases. And that is what you're seeking, in terms of enhanced customer experiences.
Exactly. I believe it's similar to, I remember a long time back, celebrities did not want to appear on television. They only wanted to appear on, because they were exclusive, and they would only appear in big theaters because you have to come pay a lot of money to be able to see us. Like, we are exclusive. We don't appear on TV.
True.
Which is for other people. So that took a while, and then something similar happened on OTT, where it was not considered the real thing. The real movies are still screened in theaters.
True.
So then that transition happened. So I think there are early adopters and later adopters in every transition, and that's what we saw.
Amazing. On that note, Ashray, I wanted to ask you this as well. You've been part of some very interesting startup accelerator programs as well. Techstars, Alchemist, right? Huge respect to both of them. Ravi Bilani is a big advocate of very interesting emerging technologies too. By the way, Ravi is he's the founder of Alchemist as well.
Ravi is the founder of Alchemist.
So, what's your experience been in these programs? And if you can also share some feedback, recommendations, or learnings from applying to and getting into these mainstream, huge, accelerator programs to fellow entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who would like to now kind of take up similar paths.
First, when I graduated out of college, I was just an engineer who had no idea of how the real world works. And some of these accelerators really, really helped me build up some of that business muscle.
Right.
How do you do sales? How do you do fundraising? And our PMF journeys, etc., would not have been possible without them. So I'm very thankful to a lot of those. Having said that, I was looking back after my startup journey, and I realized I think people tend to overcomplicate this too much and put the startup journey into a box. If you look at it from a 10,000 feet view, all you have to do is build products that solve someone's problems that they will pay for. That is it.
Makes sense.
And that's it. There's just nothing else to it. Now, in the journey to that, sometimes you might require business help, sometimes you might not. Sometimes you might require to raise money, many other times you might not.
Right.
But that is what, say, building your own company's journey should be. It's about, okay, hey, here's this problem in the world that I'll go out to solve. Because I believe, I have a unique insight into something. And that's it. People typically think of it in terms of, well, hey, I am in this leg of this long journey. Like, I need to go to an accelerator, then I need to raise my seed round, then I need to raise my Series A round, then my B round. And like, sure, all of that might be an artifact of it. In some situations, in many other situations, you could just avoid this whole journey.
Right.
But yeah, like, the 2015-16 version of me used to think that, the way companies are built is by doing this step.
Right.
But now, like, I think that the way companies are built is by just solving someone's problems. And that is like, people should never lose sight of it.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. That was a very candid answer, and really appreciate that. Thanks so much, Ashray. Ashray, thank you so much. Right, like I said, very, very candid perspectives, and loved the conversation with you. On that note, I do want to give you a hamper. We've got something highly personalized for you. So this is for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And hope you like it. By the way, this is by a company called as Capec Design. They are one of our gifting partners and one of our sponsors. And they do a lot of personalized gifting stuff. So thank you so much again for joining. It was a fantastic conversation, very candid, very crisp. And I think our viewers will get to learn a lot more about the emerging technologies out there, specifically about video creation and hyper real AI. So love the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Feel free to share your perspectives through comments, subscribe to the channel, and do send us some suggestions as well. Thank you.